For Emeka, Nigerian cuisine is the cultural bridge between two homes. As a self-trained chef, he runs the kitchen at Chuku's, developing the menu praised by restaurant critic Grace Dent as a delicious, life-changing crash course in Nigerian tapas, and recommended by Timeout as the best of Nigerian London. He's since written recipes for Sainsbury's and The Telegraph, contributed to 3 community-centric cookbooks, and in this Service Please snack, Emeka talks you through the Chuku's concept and gives you a crash course in Nigerian cuisine.
Welcome to Chippies.
Thank you. I've been really excited to come, man, honestly. Really buzzing for today.
It's been a long time coming. So the world's first Nigerian tapas restaurant, founded by my sister and I. Really just wanted to bring Nigerian food, Nigerian culture, you can see the art, the music and stuff like that to the UK in the way that we kind of saw it: rich, beautiful, colourful, flavoursome, and accessible. My sister and I were students of our heritage, of our culture, and it was super important to us. Bear with me 1 second. It was super important for us that we had Nigerian food presented in a way where our own diaspora, our own community are going to be really for it. That's like bedrock. But then with that establishment, then it to be accessible sufficiently enough that different people around the UK, different backgrounds can come, enjoy, and be introduced and immersed into this culture. Because for us, we want to be very loud and proud that Nigeria is cool, Nigeria has lovely things, you know what I mean? And by extension, Africa as well. We didn't think we could do justice to the whole of African cuisine and culture. We could just about do justice to Nigerian cuisine and culture.
Big continent, right?
It's a big continent. It's a big country. Like we're talking about, I don't want to talk about the country, the continent as a whole, but country-wise, we're talking about 200 million odd people. 300 different ethnic groups, 500 different languages. It's super diverse, super vast, eclectic, and that's important. That eclecticism is important because at times, even from a diaspora perspective, the culture can be a little bit vacuum packed, and we kind of wanted to unpack that a little bit and be like, actually, there's a bit more here. Let's dive in a little bit more. And then, as I said, for those who have minute clue or not too much of an understanding of it, let's give you a bit more breadth than what you may have already just heard about or may hear about. So that kind of brings me nicely onto the plates, because everyone talks about tapas, sharing plates. Like, why? It's like because it allows us to do that diversity. We get to explore different regions. Like generally, go to places that are not where our parents are from, or our mum is from, or our grandparents are from. I get to learn a bit more, and then try to bring that back. Whether that be through the food, whether it be through the music, whether through the art, whether through the kind of things that we share through our newsletters and just cultural aspects. And then the other thing is with like the sharing plates. If you haven't had the opportunity to try something before, I think the best way to try it is to get a sample of different things. And so that was what it was all about. Like, well, in one sitting, not knowing anything about that Nigerian food or flavours, you can get a chance to try 8 different flavours in one sitting, rather than if you came and just you had to select one dish, then you're only ever gonna have really known about that one dish. So that's where the kind of the sharing plates kind of concept came from. And as my sister and I were thinking about it a lot, it was like, okay, cool. Sharing plates in a really kind of like boisterous, warm, vibrant atmosphere. It was like, okay, cool. there's this thing called tapas. You know, I'd actually lived in Spain before, and like, you know, it was like, actually maybe that's the kind of concept we're talking about here. It's not a fusion. Our only inspiration really is Nigerian food, and then we're thinking about, okay, how do we take those dishes that we know, that we love, ones that we've found out about, discovered, fallen in love with, and put that in a sharing plate concept, tapas style. So the innovation, the creativity comes from, okay, cool, flavor, be authentic, but how do we now translate that into something which we can put on our menu in a tapas format? And how critically also is that going to be something that when it comes out on the table, we're going to be like, oh snap, like that's cool. I'll just kick off with a couple of dishes. I'll spin it around because I can read it.
Yeah, great.
I know this off my head. So like the jollof quinoa, jollof, one of the most celebrated West African dishes. Different countries have their own variants, but critically different people, aunties, have their own variants, right? And I always love to kind of lead with this because, like, I got my mom who cooks it one way, I got my auntie who cooks it another way, and my girlfriend cooks it another way. Now,
there's a lot of beef about the jollof
let me be careful because I love them all and I love all of their jollofs.
Yeah.
But it's all different. And so then when we came up with ours, like, okay, cool, we're gonna have our one. Like for me, it's not about cooking Nigerian jollof. It's about cooking jollof which is for you, your household, how you want to do it. If you like lots of spice, you cook it with lots of spice. Some people like more salt, you cook. If you want it with a meat stock, cook it with it. I'm a vegan, don't cook it with it. Do you know what I mean? So like, I think you've got to, you know, there's all different types of rice that you can cook it with, right? We decided to go completely different and cook it with a completely different grain in quinoa. But we can cook it in a very similar way. How we grew up, we're known about, you know, red onion, tomatoes, ginger, red peppers. Make that into a lovely sauce, and then you're steaming the grain, in this case quinoa, through it. We smoke ours in weddings, parties, Nigerians. There's, you know, smoky jollof rice is the thing, and so, you know, we have that kind of party style jollof in our quinoa. I'll jump onto the grisi bowl next. It's like one of the standout dishes on our menu. By design, it's a standout dish because one of the key pillars of Nigerian cuisine, I think it's fair to say that across a lot of the different ethnic groups, I wouldn't say all, but, you know, I'm not a historian here, but like across a lot of the ethnic groups is a soup or a stew. And when I say soup, it's not thin soup, it's a, you know, rich kind of stewy soup, then which you're then dipping into it like some sort of starch, which has been molded into a large ball. Soups and swallows, this is one of the kind of known ways of describing it. That's in English, obviously. Whatever their ethnic language, they will have their own terminology of saying that. So that's so important, and there's so many different variants of that. We really wanted to have that as a standout, and egusi in particular is the stew that my sister and I love, grew up with, childhood favourite. And then pounded yam is actually one of the favourite kind of starches. Actually, not my favourite. My favourite is one called eba, which is actually gari, which is grated cassava granules, which you then make into dumplings. It's got a bit more of a bitter taste, but for me, it's like, wow, yeah, I love it. I love it, absolutely. Like, it's my thing. But so then we took egusi, and then again, the creativity now comes from like how do we make this into like a tapas style? And typically one person will have a big bowl of stew and a bowl. I actually ate it last night at home like that. It's not really going to work in a tapas restaurant sharing kind of setting, so then we had to kind of think about that. There's another soup and swallow dish called abula, which has a tricolour of stews that you kind of mix in, and that was a bit of an inspiration, and kind of took that kind of tricolour aspect and reflected that on egusi, picked out the quintessential ingredients and separated them out and made them into their individual stews. Then took the one starch ball and divided that by 3 so that it's something which very easily can become a shareable. Now, even though it would stand out by design, didn't really appreciate the reception it would get. Okay. It was the hardest dish to kind of get right, like conceptually, like throughout all our, we were doing pop-ups for years and we never got an egusi dish. We tried it in different formats, bear in mind, that really banged. We worked really hard in the kind of 2019 period as we kind of in the lead up to us getting this restaurant open in 2020 on something that would work for the restaurant and be at the same level of the other dishes as well.
Do you think because there was such like an emotional connection to it with yourself and with your home and your heritage on that particular thing? Like you said, you had it at home last night. It's something that really means a lot to you. So like that pinnacle in your mind, like you really wanted to give it justice, kind of thing.
Yeah, but even still, like I wanted to give it justice, but like I didn't expect it to be the #1 seller in the house.
Right.
Because in particular, like I thought conceptually it's like maybe one of the harder dishes for people to kind of really
wrap their mind around.
Yeah. And it just like it just
they embraced it.
Yeah, just embraced it. Like it actually, because of that emotional connection now I have, and how I said importance in terms of like culinary pillar soups and swallows have, it warms my heart to see like all different people, backgrounds of people just going like, yeah, I'm eating egusi. I'm like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Like that.
Welcome.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because like, people go, yeah, I've had jollof, or I've had plantain, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, I had some suya, yeah, cool. Meats was, very seasoned and spicy, but it's still meat. But like, to saying that you're quintessentially having that, that for me is one of the key intro points to Nigerian cuisine, and then from here I could give you another kind of soup and swallow concept or something like that.
Yeah.
So bang on the money for that. It's super gassed. This little one here, Sinasa Mian Taushe, still don't know if I'm really saying it correctly because I don't have any Hausa friends. So like Hausa Fulani is one of the largest ethnic groups in Nigeria. They're based in the north. Also do find them in Mali as well, and other Mali or Cameroon, Mali, Cameroon's to the east as well. And when was this? 2018 now. Yeah, 2018. I went off to Nigeria and went up to the north and just went on a trip. I just want to discover this culture, this cuisine. A lot of the diaspora in the UK are from the south, and that's really important just to kind of have that understanding, because as a result the diaspora or the Nigerian culture is dominated by those ethnic groups who are situated in the UK. Yet there's this whole other regions of their own cuisine, story to tell, right? Like, and again, as I said, like, I'm never gonna do justice to it all because I'm not an expert on these things, but I'm a student. So like, finding out about these rice pancakes and these sauces, I was like, there's another one actually called masa, which I was trying to recreate. Couldn't get a bang on the money, but this one came and boom, like, it's there, and then you have like Nigerians been like, oh, what's this? I know, this is our food, man. You know what I mean? No, but that's super. That's what I'm saying. Unpacking the vacuum packed culture, like just open our minds a little bit more about what we have. And I say that in the sense even for myself, right? Like I don't know anything, so I'm so open to like hearing stories. I talk to my great auntie a lot, who is an educationist. She has stories for days to tell me, and it's super interesting because obviously you only know what you know, right? And there's so much kind of history and knowledge to be found out about. So that one's super cool. Then you got the various meat dishes. I'm not sure where to pick at. I'm gonna talk about the two suya dishes. I'll talk about suya in general again. It's a spice, it's a dish. So suya, you have like it's a peanuts, cloves, chili, ginger. So super rich like seasoning, which we usually marinate meats with and then grill on an open fire. So we take that same seasoning, and the dish that is the meat grilled on an open fire is called suya. So you could have suya chicken, you could suya beef, but when you just say suya, typically it's going to be beef. But you can have it with chicken, sometimes prawns. So we take that same seasoning and the grill concept and made like meatballs. So still beef, but mince obviously, roll them, grill them, marinate them, and then grill them. And then similarly with the prawns, we pan fry the prawns, but then there's honey suya sauce. So it works. Just
Great.
Happy that it works. And then these little croquettes here, the ojojo, which actually aren't usually croquettes in Nigeria. They're more like fritters.
Yeah.
It's a slightly different yam. So yam, many varieties. In England, it's probably one of the easiest yams to get hold of is puna white yam. And we use that already it gets used in Nigerian cuisine in different ways. But the ojojo itself is typically used water yam. Now water yam, when you grate it, it's full of liquid, and then you usually use that liquid to bind the ojojo itself, and then fry it. So it's kind of when you cook it, it's more like a fritter. Here we're going to make it more like a croquette with kind of more pureed yam.
So the water's like really starchy, and then you use that to basically like
starchy,
on the.
it's more like, I don't know what the phrase is, that kind of more gloopy. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you essentially
And then encase it, and then like encase it almost kind of
yeah,
thing.
But so here we roll it. Yeah, we kind of puree the yam, mix it with the mackerel, roll it, and then toss it in the breadcrumbs. So yeah, but again, it's said. You know, we're not saying that each dish is cooked exactly how it is. We're talking about flavors, and that's the most important thing, about the flavors, about the ingredients. You know, we don't use potatoes because potatoes is the main thing. We use yams, we use cassavas. You know, those root vegetables that are the linchpins of Nigeria.
You're taking people on a journey, right?
Yeah. So we need to kind of stick true to those dishes, those flavor profiles.
Amazing.
And then the desserts is so Nigerian cuisine is not big on sweet foods, so that we get the biggest opportunity to kind of take in some of the key ingredients. We've got a yam brownie. Yam is like the king of Nigerian crops. Many kind of importance traditionally in terms of demonstrating power, in terms of demonstrating wealth, demonstrating masculinity. Plantain, boom, it's this super lovely, super versatile. We enjoy as primarily as ripe. You can use it green, but like whereas compared with like in South American cuisine, they, as far as I know, tend to use it more in the green variant, use it more in the yellow variants, but it's more ripe. And then chin chin, which we use for the base of our cheesecake, is essentially like our traditional biscuit sweet thing. So we use that as the base of our cheesecake, which is super. It works really well.
Right.
That's it.
I hope you enjoyed that snack from the full episode. If you could tell one other person about this podcast, or even use their phone to like, follow, and share, it would be much appreciated. You can also go one step further and become a patron of this podcast via www.serviceplease.io. Any monthly contributions will help amplify the voices of the hospitality and wider food industry, enabling more people to understand the innovations and daily struggles of one of the most dynamic sectors, and of course, the tastiest.